All right, Diggs, let's talk a little 7-5A Division 1 before we jump up to the largest classification in the state next week. And when you're talking 7-5A Division 1, we had a state finalist. They couldn't get the whole job done, but we have a state finalist at Highland Park here. We have traditional powers, calling them traditional powers now because they're going deep every year in Midlothian and Red Oak. Talk to me about this district. Is anybody going to shake Highland Park off the top rung?
No.
All right.
Well,
That was quick.
next question.
Okay, we got another one. What
Got
makes
another
Highland? Yeah.
No.
Talk to me about Highland Park. That's not a question; it's a statement.
It's a statement. I know you're trying to feed your favorite professor, just like here's your ball, go run with it, and I just give you a no. But Highland Park is a team where I feel like they deserve. When you're looking at kind of the regional, looking at the rankings that have come out in the last couple of weeks, I had them number 2 behind Denton Ryan, and you're like, well, Diggs, aren't you a big fan of saying honor the results from last year? Yeah, I mean they did beat Denton Ryan last year, but again, Highland Park has this issue where they graduate almost everybody every year. Yeah, you could be excited about Buck Randall and Cannon Bozeman. That is a 1-2 combination. But then you start looking at everybody else. It's like, who else is left? Who else is there to kind of fill in the backspace for that? And you just got to watch. And every year, one of the most highly coveted scrimmages is that Plano East versus Highland Park scrimmage, because that's when I got to get my Plano East reference in. Once a month, I got to talk about it. It's in the contract war,
I
but the
guess.
Plano East Highland Park scrimmage is when we really get that first chance to see what is Highland Park going to do last year. And if you remember, Ward, we talked about it on the podcast. I was like, Highland Park just took the woodshed to Plano East. They're going to be pretty good this year. What do they do, Ward? They go to the state championship. That Plano East scrimmage game is a big predictor. So you're going to have to hit me up in 2 months in August after that Plano East scrimmage for us to know about everybody else. But when you got Buck Randall, he was such a talented, intelligent player last year, just so poised under center. And obviously, the joke we make every year, and it's like it becoming a running gag, is Randy Allen would retire if he felt like Highland Park was
Exactly.
done. He'd be like, I'm done. But he's got to like what's coming up every year, or he would have retired. He'd be with the grandkids, sitting on the beach in Lake Travis with all of his other retired friends. But he is back this year, so I think number 1, I got him at number 1, but it's the rest of the district ward where I feel like you're going to have a lot to talk about this year, because a lot of really talented big players are coming back. I don't think any of them can touch Highland Park as far as the tradition and the infrastructure, but there's some really good teams and some really good players coming back. Do you think any of the other teams can touch Highland Park? Let me ask you the questions, Ward. Turn it on you.
No. All
There you
right, now
go.
let's talk about the teams that were 2 and 3 last year. Midlothian and Red Oak. Midlothian, they had Lone Star in right dead to rights, and they didn't quite pull that one off, and that would have been a humongous surprise. But it's, if anything, it's enough to give them momentum into this year. Although they already know what kind of program they got there. Talk to me about Midlothian, and then Red Oak's got, man, they got the quickest guy I ever did see in Braden Robinson there as a wide receiver, and he's out there. He had to play that. He was supposed to be a 1-2 combination with Taz Williams until Taz got hurt, so he's got a plethora of experience. So tell me about those 2 teams.
So much is coming back in the rest of these teams in the district that we're going to talk about as playoff teams. But Bo Wendell, I mean, quarterback son. I always joke when you have a quarterback son at quarterback, you're playing 12 on 11. So Midlothian
Coaches
this
son.
year is going to be playing 12 on 11. But they got Michael Archie at running back as well, 394 yards and 11 touchdowns. A player that we're going to be talking about for the next couple of years, and Brendan Jackson as a freshman, 700 yards and 7 touchdowns in this offense. Might as well put him at Clemson, because you can just go ahead and give him an offer, because he's going to be the next big thing at Midlothian at wide receiver for the next 3 to 4 years. And Midlothian was able to open it up. It's like when you look at these quarterbacks and the fact that Wendell threw for 1,200 yards last year, he had more yards passing than he did rushing. It's like, what's happening at Midlothian? But that triple option is finding ways to spring wide receivers out, and they are just terrorizing their downfield opponents with run, boom, 80-yard pass. And Midlothian is finding ways to succeed at that. So I really like Midlothian. Noah Best at offensive line, just a beast out there. Kentorian King. So you got Midlothian with all of this returning talent coming back, who, like you said, they should have beat Lone Star last year. Red Oak is another team that lost a Lone Star last year, and they're scratching their head like, oh, if this would have happened, if that would have happened. But once they finally figured out their quarterback situation, Billy Middleton shined last year.
Mhm.
2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, another 15 touchdowns rushing, 1,000 yards rushing. And they got Lorenzo Holmes coming back. They got, as you talked about, Braden Robinson, one of the fastest wide receivers coming back, 15 touchdowns, 1,000 yards receiving last year. Kingston McAdams, how can you dislike Red Oak? You got to figure out some defense, but Red Oak is a team you can be excited about. So Midlothian and Red Oak, and they've been playing in that district. I know you don't like when we have these teams from other areas, but Red Oak and Midlothian, when we are playing Killeen a couple of years ago, they were big rivals, still playing one-score games. Now we got Tyler and teams to worry about. I think Midlothian and Red Oak, that rivalry is really going to determine the middle of this district, and I think it's going to have a lot of insight into how the playoffs are going to go. So I've got Midlothian a little bit ahead of Red Oak, but that's going to be a fun game to watch. And both of those teams on any given Friday are good enough to compete with Highland Park. So I don't want to just say Highland Park is so far away at a number one, because they got so much coming back, and Highland Park has so many question marks that we just have to trust. It's like trust but verify, Ward.
Right.
But right now they are good enough to play with Highland Park this year.
All three of those games should be interesting. Talk to me about can Burleson Centennial hang on to their playoff spot? We talked last year about how Joshua's rising with their coach pushing them to make them relevant, and they are relevant after going 5-5. But my main question is, can the Spartans keep their playoff spot, or is that team from East Texas going to bump them out?
And every year I feel like I'm hyping a team from East Texas, and you just sit there and roll your eyes like, shut up, Diggs. Nobody's watching this from Tyler. But I like Tyler. Tyler, we talked about them last year. They had a sophomore quarterback 2 years ago, and I was excited about that. Now he's going to be a senior in Caden Granberry. Last year he had 1,755 yards and 13 touchdowns. They just returned everybody on offense, just like Midlothian and Red Oak. Ashton Origa, 740 yards and 7 touchdowns running the ball. Kadarius McMiller, 592 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. Trey Harrelson, 680 yards receiving and 12 touchdowns. Tyler High is loaded this year. I think in this district, I've got them number 4, but Burleson Centennial just finds a way. Jacob Torres is coming back for Burleson Centennial. He had 1,370 yards passing and 17 touchdowns. They've got their running back and Jalen Walker coming back, but they graduated their big receiver in Damian Long. So I don't know how Burleson Centennial in year 2 of getting away from the triple option, how they're going to deal with, just this new offense. So I've got them a little bit on the outside looking in. But man, Tyler High and Burleson Centennial is going to be a fun game to watch for that last playoff spot. And certainly both of those teams are good enough to compete with Red Oak and Midlothian if one of them are having a bad day.
How about Joshua? And how about Cleveland?
Yeah, Joshua got a transfer in from Arlington Seguin and Malachi Berry that could be a big player that could help them. Esteban Salas returns at running back, but I question Joshua losing their quarterback. In this district, I feel like they're going to be on the outside looking in. Cleburne is a team that is going to be much better this year. They were 0-10 last year, but they returned their big 3. They got Luke Stewart coming back, who had 1,600 yards passing. They got Hayden LaFeisty at running back, who had 900 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns, and Malachi Cunningham. It's so hard for Cleburne because in this district, everybody is so good at the top, but they're going to be much better and much more competitive. I think Cleburne has a really good chance to maybe pass Joshua and get out and maybe even compete with Burleson Centennial, but I don't think they're going to be able to compete for a playoff spot.
What do you got for me 1 through 7?
I got Highland Park, number 1. I got Midlothian, number 2. I got Red Oak, number 3. Tyler High, number 4. Burleson Centennial, number 5. Joshua, number 6. And Cleburne, number 7. But again, Cleburne is a dangerous number 7. And they're a dark horse that can make some noise in this district. But again, they're just those top 4 teams. I got 5 teams, Ward, in my top 15 from this district. It's a really loaded district.